Hi everyone, and welcome to SPERO DEI's online worship service. My name is Marcia. I'm a singer-songwriter here in Nashville. I'm also a wife and a mother, and if you look at any of my socials, you'll know really quickly that I'm a very proud brand new grandmother. And I've been coming to SPERO DEI now for over 2 years, and I was so blessed to find this community of people when I did, because it was at a time when I was going through what some call a faith shift in my spiritual journey, and I needed a safe place where that I was in the middle of deconstructing some previously held religious beliefs, and I was trying to reconstruct a way forward that still it honored my love for Jesus, but yet it didn't bind me to a belief system that was not working for me anymore. So a friend of mine saw some of my Facebook posts, and she gave me a little nudge and said, "Hey, you ought to try out this new church called SPERO DEI. I think you'll really like it." And she was right. It has been so refreshing to be in a church that isn't put off by any of my questions or my doubts, but actually encourages me to use those as a springboard towards a deeper and more intimate relationship with God. I also love the fact that everyone is welcome here at SPERO DEI, and I can invite any of my friends, no matter their skin tone, their sexual identity, any of their religious backgrounds, and they'll be comfortable here, they'll be welcome here, they'll be loved here. That matters to me.
The world waits for a miracle. The heart longs for a little bit of hope. Oh come, Emmanuel. A child prays for peace on earth, and she's calling out from a sea of hurt. Oh come, Emmanuel. Can you hear the angels singing? Glory to the light of the world. Glory to the light of the world is He. Drought breaks with the tears of a mother. Babies cry as the sound of love. Come down, Emmanuel. Here's the song for the suffering. He's Messiah, the Prince of Peace has come. He has come, Emmanuel. Glory to the light of the world.
Well, hey, SPERO Day, and I want to welcome you to our online service. My name is David Perez, and I am the lead minister of SPERO Day, and I'm standing in this room I'm standing in is so cold right now. The heat is off, and on this particular day that I'm filming, it's the coldest day in Nashville so far of this season. In fact, I checked the weather this morning. It is colder here in Nashville, Tennessee than it is in Chicago, Illinois, or Boston, Massachusetts. So, in fact, I know we have some folks who watch from Southern California, so it'd be really nice if you could send some weather our way. But wherever you are watching from, it means so much to me. It means so much to us that you have discovered SPERO Day, a church that is rethinking and reimagining, even reforming a different kind of Christianity here in the 21st century. And I also want to welcome our Nashville folks. I know we're still in the pandemic, and some of you are part of SPERO Day, but you're staying away, of course, because of the pandemic, and I also want to welcome you. So welcome, everybody. Okay, I want to start off by asking you a question. How often do you feel like you don't have enough? I don't have enough time. I don't have enough talent. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough strength. I don't have enough smarts. I don't have enough fulfillment in my life. I don't have enough of this thing I need that's going to get me to where I want. How often would you say you feel like that? Now, during January, I'm starting off the year with doing a bit of a cleanse in my diet, and right now I feel like I don't have enough Italian food because I love Italian food. I was raised on Italian food. I am Italian. And right now I definitely feel like I have enough broccoli, roasted carrots, plantain chips from Trader Joe's. But I just don't feel like I have enough rigatoni with a nice tomato cream sauce. I think you can never have enough Italian food, don't you think? Or Mexican food, when you come to think about it. Or Chinese takeout, or Thai, or the finger food of a sports bar. You can never have enough of that either. Are you sort of getting the picture of how my January cleanse is going? It's like the 11 other months of my diet. I'm literally living a Jim Gaffigan joke. Now, enough about that. Let's get to this real not enoughness, this real lack of feeling that. How often would you say you feel like you don't have enough? And enough of whatever, enough of something, enough of anything. This is an oh so human feeling. But the crazy thing about all of this is when we're going through it, we think we're the only ones. And the reason is because we look around and we start comparing, we start creating stories. We go, he looks like he has enough. She looks like she has enough. They look like they have enough, and I don't. I don't have enough. Now, this experience of not enoughness, it really comes from two places. One of them, it's just our own stuff. It might be our wiring, our personality wiring, our experiences. Maybe it comes from some childhood issues in our family, the kind of home we grew up in, and how we took that all in. The second one that creates this, it's more cultural. I mean, we are constantly dehumanized down to just simple consumers who lack something, right? So just consume more if you want to be enough. Social media is a huge part of this. It's huge in dehumanizing us to mere algorithms that then categorize us into these digital like-minded tribes, where the message is this, to be enough, you got to be in our tribe because we are the enough tribe. And if you go somewhere else to some other tribe, you're not going to be enough. So to be enough, to think like us, to act like us, to talk like us, to believe like us, to see the world like us, be part of us, because we're the enough tribe. And if I'm honest, even in the religious and church context, there might be a third one. It actually might be people like me holding leather-bound books like this, people in spiritual positions. We have contributed to the whole zeitgeist of you're not enough. We've helped. We've said you're not holy enough, you're not pure enough, you're not committed enough, you're not obedient enough. And here's the super weird thing about that. So many of us clergy who stand in our pulpits, we're the ones that herald love and grace and acceptance. We're the ones who say, everyone's welcome. And then so many buy into it, of course, because it's love and grace. But then somehow after, we set up these purification tests to see who's really in. And there is one thing this kind of Christianism tests, and that's purity. It's the purity of beliefs and doctrine, and then it's the purity of morality. Now, just an aside here, and you can check it out for yourself. When the religious leaders of Jesus' day set up these purification tests, they always tested a couple things. Do you believe the right thing about the Bible? And do you obey and practice your faith the way we say is the right way? Now, does that sound familiar to what happens even now? I'm of the opinion that Jesus stood against those kind of purification tests. But you can check that out for yourself. So anyway, whether it's personal, cultural, spiritual, in some form or fashion, we all run into this not enough syndrome. But I think there's some hope here. Something can awaken us that there is the extraordinary, but it's found in the ordinary. And oftentimes the real miracle is before us, but it's buried under the ordinary. So we're prone to miss it. And I think this week's story is just that. It's from the season of Epiphany, and it might reveal something to us. But let me give you a little setup first. In the church calendar, we are now in the season of Epiphany. And Epiphany is the season between Advent, which leads up to Christmas, and then Lent, which then leads up to Easter. And then we have this sort of in-between season that we call Epiphany. And the word Epiphany, it means a revealing or an appearing. Because this is when the whole focus in the scriptures goes beyond the Christmas wonder, the star in the sky, the heavenly hosts, right? The three magi who bring frankincense, gold, and myrrh to a babe in a manger, goes beyond all of that. By the way, just a little side note here. When my kids were little, and I really probably shouldn't be telling you this because I'm the minister, but when they were little and we would set up the nativity scene at Christmas with all those ceramic figures, the camel, Mary and Joseph, you get it, to go on a table that was near the tree. I remember my little guy, Sam, and he was maybe 3 or 4 at the time. Sophie was there too. She was like 2 or 3. I remember Sam asked, "Daddy, why are there 3 wise men?" And I don't know why I said this, but I go, "Well, actually there are 4. And Sam goes, "There's 4? Then where is he?" And I said, "Well, he got kicked out because he brought baby Jesus a fruitcake. And nobody born after 1947 likes a fruitcake. And you could hear Liz from the other room go, "Kids, that's not true. David." And what was cute about this whole thing in the years following, when we would set up the nativity that following Christmas, Sam and Sophie would just repeat the story. There were just 4, and we would just laugh and laugh and laugh. Well, anyway, back to this Epiphany. Epiphany is when we go from Jesus the baby to now Jesus the adult. And in our Christian tradition, it's where Christ's divinity is revealed, an epiphany, and where it appears. Where does it appear? It appears in normal, everyday places, like his baptism, which we looked at a week ago. And it appears in this story I'm going to share today, when Jesus and his mother and his friends attend a wedding in the small town of Cana. Now, a wedding in the first century Jewish wedding, especially in a small town, it was a culturally significant event. The wedding lasted not 5 hours, it lasted anywhere from 5 to 7 days. And everybody in that town would come out for the festivities. And the wedding ceremony came after a 1-year betrothal between the couple. And a betrothal was sort of like an engagement, but then it wasn't. Because in a betrothal, they are legally married. They just don't live together yet, but it's legal. And in that 1 year of waiting, the groom's father helps the young groom build the couple's future home. Well, when the wedding finally comes after a year, it is something that everybody's been anticipating. And as the hosts, you had to entertain and give everyone food and wine for days. And there would be these processions that started in one family's house and moved to another family's house. There'd be these processions in the street where everybody came out. There wasn't any honeymooning in those days, so at one point there's a ceremony in all of this, and the couple is officially married. They go back to their new home, consummate the marriage, and then the couple returns to the party for all the celebrating and eating and drinking and dancing. This is how weddings were in the first century. Now, any of you out there who have ever planned a wedding, or you had to foot the bill for a wedding, not only have you felt the financial pressure of all of that, but I bet you even felt the social, cultural pressure of what a wedding is expected to be in your particular culture, right? You've probably felt that. And, you know, a lot of times when I'm officiating a wedding, it's me and groomsman number 5. We are the most relaxed in the whole place because we didn't have to do any of the hard stuff to make all of this happen. We just get to enjoy a nice beverage and then go over to the fajita bar. This time, one time I was so relaxed at a wedding I was officiating that I forgot to show up. Yeah, that's actually true. I forgot to show up. Man, was I in big trouble, especially with the bride's mother. Oh man. Now, in those first century days, all of that social pressure, cultural pressure, it went to the father of the bride, or in the story that we're about to look at, the man in charge. Yeah, you better throw quite a shindig, and there better be plenty of food and booze to last for days. But at this wedding we're going to read about, the wine starts to run out, which is a huge no-no. And at this point in the story, it seems like only the bar knows. The folks, they still have wine in their glasses, but if they wanted more, and they are going to want more because there's more celebrating to do. They are going to find out. But somehow Mary, Jesus' mother, she discovers it. We don't know why. I mean, maybe she went for a second glass or another glass and they go, "Look, lady, we're done here. The party's over." Either way, she knew it would be a huge embarrassment to the bride's family. So Mary totally kicks into motion. So now let's read this story from John chapter 2. And let's see if we can find the extraordinary in the ordinary. 3 days later, the mother of Jesus was at a wedding feast in the village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus and his disciples also had been invited and were there. When the wine was gone, Mary said to Jesus, "They don't have any more wine." Jesus replied, "Mother, my time hasn't come yet." Mary then said to the servants, "Do whatever Jesus tells you." At the feast, there were 6 stone water jars that were used by the people for washing themselves in the way their religion said they must. Each jar held about 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus told the servants to fill them to the top with water. Then after the jars had been filled, he said, "Now take some of the water and bring it to the man in charge." The servants did as Jesus told them, and the man in charge drank some of the water that had now turned into wine. He did not know where the wine had come from, but the servants did. He called the bridegroom over and he said, "The best wine is always served first. Then after the guests have had plenty, the other wine is served. But you have kept the best until last." This was Jesus' first miracle, and he did it in the village of Cana in Galilee. There Jesus revealed his glory, that's the Epiphany, and his disciples put their trust in him. Now listen, I have been to some fantastic weddings. I bet you have too. But I've never been to one like this. And I'm sure the man in charge, if this would have been me, I would have gone, "Hey, Jesus, while you're at it, could you turn the napkins into money? Because the bar tab alone for this 5-day party is going to be through the roof." That would have been me. Now, I know we quickly think when it comes to this story, it's about water into wine. We go, that's the miracle, right? And if it happened for them, it would have been. Of course, that would have been amazing if it happened in front of them. No wonder many people would have then put their faith in Jesus. It would have only bolstered it. But it's not where you and I live. So you would think that water and wine would be the miracle, but it isn't for me, because I've never, ever seen such a thing happen. And my guess is, nor have you. And even with all the showy, Christian-y miracle claimers that we see on TV, I've never seen any one of them demonstrate something like this. And for me, because sometimes the real miracle is the thing that's never seen. So this is why I can't identify with just water into wine. But Mary, her response, I can identify with that. Remember the question I asked you when I opened this whole thing? How often do you feel like you don't have enough? This is what hits Mary. What hits her is there is a need here. Everything is not okay. It looks like we're in trouble. There is not enough wine. Listen, I have been in situations in my life. I've gone through a trial, a struggle, an obstacle, and something that just seems daunting, where I just feel, listen, I don't know if I have enough to do this. Folks, I'm in the middle of my final months of writing a thesis after years of rigorous graduate school. And while I've been working full-time, planting a new church, and if I could just be honest with you, lately I have been extremely overwhelmed, and I just sometimes feel like giving up. It's even hard for me to say that. And so maybe you've experienced something similar in your life where you just have this weight you're carrying. So I do know how to say what Mary says. I do know how to say, listen, I'm experiencing fear here because I just don't have enough right now. I just don't think I have it. And when Mary recognizes the duress of this situation, for me, I also can relate to that. I know how to say, everything is not okay here. I'm not okay here because I don't think it's going to be okay because I don't have enough. And when Mary recognized the problem, and when she recognized, oh man, this is going to cause grave results, I totally get that too. I totally get I'm in trouble and I fear the worst is going to happen. Why? Because there just isn't enough. I don't have enough. I get her. I get all of that. Is this making sense to any of you, or is it just me? So what do you do when we're overwhelmed? Well, for me, this story, it gives me a different kind of epiphany than you might think. Look at this right here in verse 5. Mary said, "Do whatever he tells you." Jesus told the servants, "Fill them to the top with water." Then after the jars had been filled, he said, "Now take some water and bring it to the man in charge of the feast." The servants did as Jesus told them, and the man in charge drank some water that had now turned into wine. I mean, do you see it there? Do you see how the ordinary becomes the extraordinary? Yeah, you might be saying, yeah, right, normal water turns into French Bordeaux, right? Yeah, you would think that's it. But no, again, not for me. That's not the miracle. Look what Mary says. Mary says, do whatever, do something. Fill the jars to the top. Now bring it to the man in charge. And then it says, they did just that. That's the miracle. It is for me anyway. And I know you're going, wait, what? How's that the miracle? And it's right there in the ordinary. When the problem hits, and folks, problems will hit in your and my life, they acknowledge the need, they acknowledge the obstacle, then their faith in God kicks in and they turn to Christ, but they also keep moving forward. They keep moving forward in the unknown. So the ordinary is, you and I are to just keep moving forward. But here's where then the extraordinary comes in out of that ordinary moving forward. And now you might be going, yes, now it's the wine into the water, right? No. As they move forward, somewhere between here and there, my old pastor Bill, the first pastor I ever worked for, he called this power along the way. You see, as you keep moving, as you keep trusting, somewhere between here and there, the extraordinary happens. There is power along the way. Where? Where's the power along the way? Don't know. It's just somewhere. It just happens as we move forward. So the ordinary is we keep moving forward, and the extraordinary is when we do, even though you're overwhelmed, you're holding on to your trust in God, your trust in yourself, and you just take it moment by moment. You just keep doing that next thing, and then there is power, strength, resilience along the way. Somehow it just keeps showing up. your resilience, your strength, as you just keep doing the next thing and keep moving forward. And then there is just somewhere between here and there, spiritual and personal strength. I even love about, what I love about this story is really how it's told so unassuming. It's just, bring the wine to the man in charge. He drank some of the water and he goes, wow, that's wine. That's it. Yeah, that's it. As they were walking, there's no, like we would see it today, the cup didn't start to jiggle, the water didn't start to boil and steam, and then whoosh, it became wine, like a Harry Potter effect. There was none of that. Jesus the carpenter didn't grab a hammer out of his bag and then with great spectacle like Harry Houdini, smash one of the cisterns and then all the wine pours out in dramatic fashion. That didn't happen. Jesus didn't in a loud voice say, "Spirit of H2O, I command you to come out of that cup and become a red zin with a candied fruitiness, followed by a hint of spice, and then followed by a smoky finish." None of that happened. Jesus just dips a cup ordinarily into the cistern and says, "Here, take it to that guy over there talking to the DJ." And that's it. In fact, it is so unassuming that when the servant hands the cup to the man, the servant still thinks it's water. Now listen, we all want to throw in a towel at times, don't we? We all want to give up because of this feeling of not enoughness. But just keep doing the next thing. Don't do the whole thing. Just do the next thing. Attach your heart and trust to God. Now, trust doesn't mean you have to believe in a miracle outcome. They had no idea that water would become wine. You're still in the unknown. Trust is not that. Trust is always relational. That's what it is. Trust is a connection of relying upon God. Trust is relational attachment. You're trusting in someone. You're not trusting in something. Liz and I and the kids, we have gone through some tough times. We didn't know the outcome at all. But what we did do was we turned to each other. We held on to each other with relational attachment. And in holding on to each other, the power came. We were present with each other, and there the power was in holding on to each other. This is very much a spiritual thing. Also, I know that moving forward seems so ordinary. It doesn't seem spiritual or transcendent. What's the miracle in just moving forward? I want something supernatural. I want an intervention where the normal water of my life turns into robust red wine. But for me, the miracle is in the ordinary, when we recognize the need, acknowledge the pain, and then we welcome it. This is what Mary does. She recognizes the need. Hey, there is just not enough. And yet she still moves forward. The servants move forward. Even Jesus, who admits, listen, this is not my time yet, even he moves forward. And when we move forward and we take our heart, attach it to God with trust, somewhere between here and there is power along the way. God's presence is with you, and you feel it, and you experience it. Now, next week, I'm going to talk about, when you do move forward, which is the thing to do, you sometimes have to face some things in yourself. So that's what I'll talk about next week. Well, let's close in prayer. God, we all know what it's like to experience this not enoughness, to be so overwhelmed, to go, I fear the worst. I don't have enough to pull this off. And so I pray for anybody who is overwhelmed by that feeling and overwhelmed by the whole thing in front of them. I pray that they would just move forward, just do the next thing. And as they do the next thing, they are attaching their trusting heart to you. They don't have to trust in a certain ending. It's just holding on relationally to you. And when we do, somehow between here and there is power along the way. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, folks, before we go, I have some fantastic news to report to you about our year-end giving. As we were leading up to Christmas and New Year, I had let you know, and so did our board let you know, that how the pandemic has affected us, especially in 2021, we were $165,000 behind in our donations. And so we had said, hey, would you consider helping us make up as much of that as possible? And I just got to tell you how gracious and how generous and how extraordinary you were. We saw over $107,000 come in towards that 165, which is truly extraordinary, truly amazing. So if you were part of that, if you gave whatever amount to that, towards our year-end giving, and I know it came locally here in Nashville, and some of it came even from those of you who watch online. Whoever you are, I just have to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't tell you enough of how that helps us and allows us to survive, this new church survive. It's just incredible. So thank you. And now what we do is we move on to our next goal, which is at the end of quarter one, which is around Easter, to have SPERO Day be fully in the black. So right now we're around $13,500 each month shy. And so how will we become in the black? Well, my challenge to those of us is, if you're not a recurring giver, to join and be a recurring giver. So your resources and finances are here for the church consistently. And here's what's been amazing through the fall. More and more of you have become recurring givers. So that's real simple. All you do is go to SPERODEI.com. You look for Give in the upper right-hand corner. And you just hit it, and it's very safe and secure. But from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of the staff and board's heart, thank you for this incredible generosity, for this new and unique church. Thank you.
We're so glad you've been here with us today. My name is Dory, and as we close out our time together, you might be wondering, what more can I do? You know, this time that we've had together has been great, but SPERO Day is more than just this time that we've had. SPERO Day is people gathering together throughout the week, people reading books together, people serving in our community. And one of the best ways that you can find out about how you can be a part of all of that is by going to our website and signing up for our newsletter. That way, right in your inbox, you'll see what's happening outside of just this time. This time has been so good, but there is more, and we want you to taste and see the more of SPERO Day. Another way that you can do that is by following us on Instagram, and you'll learn what's coming up next, and you'll be able to get connected more. So I hope you will do that. Another way that I've found that I can taste and see the goodness of a community is by giving back to it. There's so many ways to do that. You can volunteer and serve, you give of your energy even, but also giving of your resources. I am so grateful for everyone who gives at SPERO Day. It really does make a difference in this community. If you've been thinking about giving, we would love for you to just consider that. No pressure, no judgment, just something for you to consider as you are on your journey towards growing and connecting more with SPERO Day. You can do that also by going to our website, sperodei.com, and signing up to give. But that's a wrap for today. We're glad you were able to join us.